Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to everybody. Wake up. It's Thursday, 11 o'clock, and it's time for the Message Talk Show.
The Message Talk Show is back again, back. Find the links on Master the Message with Alex and links on the Message Talk Show on Facebook.
Good morning, folks. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, Alex.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
I love that. I love that little what you call it? Your little turban there on your head.
Yes, I'm celebrating Jamaica Independence Day today.
Celebrating Jamaica.
Jamaica's national costume. Or one of them.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So today, wherever you are today, guys, you're tuning into the Message Talk Show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. If you're in the Caribbean, it's probably early morning. If you're in America, it's early morning. But if you're in Australia, it is good night. And I have this rather private joke that I keep saying, you know. And if you're in Leicester, it's good morning as well. Someone did complain that I didn't say hello in Leicester. So every time I make this thing about, hey, Leicester, good morning. So good morning to you guys all over the world today. Tuning into the Message Talk Show. You know, on the Message Talk Show, we're here to help people get their message out. We're here to speak and to use the energy that we have to bring change in the world. Now, today we have a very special guest in house. And this lady is going to share her thoughts with us. She has so much information to share. So I won't spend a lot of time talking today. I'm just going to turn over the show to this lady and get her speaking. But before I do that, let's just go to...
You are listening to the Message Talk Show and podcast. Do you believe you have something to share? Do you believe you have something to contribute? Do you have a story to tell the world, to share with your community? Gandhi said, man often becomes what he believes himself to be. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So join us on the Message Talk Show and podcast with host Alex Gordon.
See, we believe passionately and without any apology that passionate and mission-centered individuals, entrepreneurs will bring change to the world. So we work with educators, we work with content creators, we work with coaches, we work with all these different people across the world to bring change and to make things happen. So if you're an entrepreneur or you have an idea, connect with us and get featured. We speak every Thursday, 11 o'clock. Tune into the show. And now we're going to get ready for our guest speaker. Now let me just share my screen here now. So are you ready, Carol?
I am ready.
Hey. Okay, just gonna run. We're not gonna worry about it now because sometimes these things do try. I'm hearing you. You can hear me. So as long as everyone is hearing me outside.
Okay, I hope everybody else is not hearing the buzzing that I'm hearing.
Just one second. Give me one minute to see what this is. Let me just mute my mic. All right. My mic is going to go just for 2 seconds. Carol, just introduce yourself. Introduce yourself. I'll come back.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Dr. Carol Ighofose. I'm a GP. I'm also an author, published author. got a book entitled Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, The Heart of the Matter, which talks about why heart attacks happen and a plan for living well after the event. And this is my book, which is available on Amazon. So that's there. And I also love to talk. So I am a speaker. I do like to use the opportunity to share with individuals with a view to empower, educate, that's necessary, and inspire. I'm also a family person. I've got 2 teenage sons. And I'm passionate about my friends and my family. So yes, I hope that whatever we discussed this morning, you'll be able to take some nuggets of information from what I've got to share. There's a lot to share. So we'll see where we get to this morning.
Right, Carol, let's test this again. Can you hear me, Carol?
I can hear you.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
You can hear me.
I can hear you.
I can't hear you. Give me 1 minute. Right, are we in tune now? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Alex.
Hello? Can you hear me, Carol?
I can.
I can't pick it up. I'm not picking up.
You're not hearing me? Oh, I'm still here, waiting on Alex.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Can you hear me? Wow,
I
this
can
is
hear
still
you.
giving me a bit of problem this morning. This is testing my. Right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Alex.
Yeah, no, still not.
Are you not hearing me?
Still not playing up. 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Still not playing up. Oh dear. Testing. Testing. Hello?
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you.
Just checking. Can we talk now? Can we talk?
I can hear
Are we
you.
there? We are not quite there. This is just
Unprecedented.
hello. Hello.
I'm here.
Hello.
Put my mic back on. I'm hearing you very clearly.
Hello. Hello. Yep, I can. So why? What speaker? Headphones. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. I
can't. I'm not picking you up. I'm not getting you at all. I'm not getting you at all on the stream. All right, let me just try one more thing. Give me a split second. Let me just try one more thing. The microphone just went dead. Tested it.
Wow.
All right, hello.
Hi, Alex. I can hear you.
Wow, this I told you this has been a tremendous day. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. I had to swap out all the machinery. Isn't that amazing?
Okay.
Swap out all
Well,
the
well done for doing that.
machinery. That's wonderful.
Oh my goodness.
So, um, whew, today we have a special guest in house. Name is Dr. Carol Ighofose. She's a general practitioner. She's a speaker. She's an author of a wonderful book called Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, The Heart of the Matter. Today we're talking about the signs of a heart attack. We had this discussion about heart attacks are something that we somehow overlook. We don't talk about them. We don't hear about them. And they're like what we call a silent killer. But before we go there, we're in the midst of a pandemic, Doctor.
I know.
How do we work our way through this one? We're in the midst of a pandemic and nobody seems to know what to do. What's your view on what's going on?
Well, like you said, it is an evolving condition. We're all learning as we go along. And my advice is just to continue following the advice that is coming from the scientists and our national leaders, and health workers. We're doing the best we can. But like you said, it's unprecedented. It's new. It's novel. We're just doing as we can do according to the best evidence that's available to us. So, the social distancing and hand hygiene and all of those things that we're being advised to do.
One of the comments that were made very early on was that the pandemic, COVID-19, seems to affect the Caribbean community, the African and Caribbean community, more than anyone else.
Yes.
What's your view on that?
So again, it's Black and Asian and ethnic
Black and Asian, okay.
population more so. That seems to have a more adverse impact from COVID-19, and we're still searching for the exact reasons. But there are lots of possible reasons, because they recently did some kind of review. It wasn't really an inquiry to see what some of the possibilities are. Genetics, we're not sure whether that is, but it's possible, just because some of the conditions that the BAME population are prone to are the ones that can make the disease more complicated, if you like, if you get it. So high blood pressure, diabetes, all of those things. And a lot is pinned on possible socioeconomic conditions. But suffice it to say, there have been a lot of doctors, for example, who are not necessarily affected by the low socioeconomic factor, but they did die quicker. In fact, the first 7 doctors who died in the NHS were from the BAME population. So it doesn't quite add up. Everything doesn't quite add up. There's an argument as to whether vitamin D deficiency is playing a part as well.
Wow.
So lots of things, but we're still searching for the real answers. And there is said to be an inquiry done. So I hope that will be done so that we can have something, really concrete.
Wow, we're still searching, so there's no real answer to all of this.
Yeah, but there are lots of things that are, we could say, associations rather than causes. And
right.
Yeah.
Wow. So we may be having to live with this for another 6 to 9 months then, really.
Who knows?
Another year.
Who knows?
My.
Unless we find therapeutic treatments, so drugs that will definitely treat it. Again, lots of research is being done. I'm seeing lots of videos floating around. I'm sure you've seen lots of things. Or a vaccine that works. Then we'll have to just continue doing what we're doing until
Well,
it.
talking about the vaccine, because I remember hearing something. I forgot where I heard this, but there was a comment made by some doctors around the world that the vaccine were going to be tried. They were going to test the vaccine in Africa first.
Oh, I've not heard that. And there are so many things being said.
I know there's a
so,
lot of things being said, you know,
so
and
many things being said. But
conspiracy theories as well.
Yes, the important thing is that we follow the trend, the trajectory of the vaccines, how they're being made, because we know vaccines need to go through certain phases in order for us to know that they are safe and efficacious, work properly. So they have to go phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And even though you might not have the know-how, just the thing is to make sure that, or to check, you know, and be reassured that these phases are being completed before it's introduced. And I mean, those in authority, you know, have the responsibility really to make sure that that's the case before it is.
It's a long waiting game then. There's no shortcut to the vaccine, really.
There are some very promising ones. Here in the UK, Oxford recently announced that I think they're entering into phase 3 for their vaccine, which is where it's being tested on live people, having passed the other 2 phases. So there is hope, but we need to continue waiting and
there is hope.
Pray that it will be a safe, whichever 1 or 2 or 3 vaccines, because they're quite being worked on at the moment. Yeah.
So the news is, guys, we have to learn to live with this. We have to live with it. We have to mitigate our interaction with other people, wash our hands, keep them clean. You know, I was traveling recently in central London, and wearing the mask is not very nice on public transport. Wearing the mask, and you can see the anticipation of other people when they're on the buses, when they're on the public transport, when people walk on and don't have a mask on, and you can see the terror in their faces, you know. And when you do have the mask on and you're breathing and you're getting hot and you're getting bothered, I'm thinking, wow, how long is this going to go on for? So you can imagine if the ordinary person out there doesn't really want to wear the mask because it's just not comfortable to wear it.
Yeah, some people developing, facial rashes and reactions to it.
It's probably even made my beard go grey.
Yes, Alex, blame the mask.
Okay, so now we've got the pandemic out the way. Let's talk about heart attacks. Now, there's stats out there about heart attacks, and you are the specialist when it comes to heart attacks. What's your story there?
Okay, so I wouldn't say I'm a specialist, but I'm a general practitioner. So
you know more about heart attacks than we do, the ordinary person.
Yes, and I've actually had one. So
okay, so what's the story?
To speak on 2 levels. Yes, so in 2018 January, I was driving home from work and had what I thought was indigestion symptoms. It actually started just before I left, but there was no reason for me to think that I was having a heart attack. So I got in my car and started driving home. But it didn't settle. In fact, it got worse, the symptoms, and I later had to pull over. Luckily, I was talking to one of my colleagues, one of my doctor colleagues, using the hands-free phone, of course, so as I was driving. And we decided I would pull over, and she called 999. They later turned up, and yes, later on, I ended up in hospital, had a stent put into the main arteries of my heart because I was, in fact, having a heart attack. I don't know how much more details you want. I can tell you as much detail as you know, but that's the long and short of it. I'm now living with the effects of having had a heart attack and having had a heart attack that was not necessarily treated on time as well. So that's another.
So let's take it back a bit then. Let's take it back a bit because you had a heart attack. What are the signs? What are there some general signs that we pick up to having a heart attack? What are the signs to look out for?
Okay, so I think that most people think of a heart attack as and probably an older man clutching his chest and, toppling over or something like that, with a heart attack. But there are signs vary from and with individuals, but there are some classic signs. So when we talk about signs, we talk about signs and symptoms generally. So signs are what you can see when you're looking at the person. Symptoms is what the person experiences. So in terms of sign, if somebody's having a heart attack, looking at the person will look unwell, maybe look a bit gray or pale, maybe sweating a lot, look panicked, maybe look unwell. And some people might be breathing quite fast, and on rare occasions people have been known to wheeze as well. What the individual feels is usually a discomfort. For me, like I said, I thought what I was having was indigestion symptoms. It is said that you can think of the discomfort from somewhere, from the stomach area to up here above about your chin level. You could have symptoms anywhere there. So it's either a pressure or a tightness or a squeezing or burning sensation as if indigestion in the chest area. And that can move up to your neck, in your jaws. Sometimes it goes down your arm, one arm or two arms. And in some cases, it's known to move to the back or even in the stomach. So those are the signs and symptoms that people will get. So it's not necessarily this crushing central chest pain, which is what in the textbook. That comes sometimes eventually, but sometimes it's not there at all. And there have been cases where people have had heart attacks and not realized, which we refer to as the silent heart attacks. So that is also a possibility. But generally speaking, people look very unwell and get some kind of discomfort in the chest area, which comes on suddenly and does not go. It doesn't set. Yeah.
Well, I was checking the stats this week in I think it's the British Heart Foundation, and they were saying that there's over 400 heart attacks per day in the UK.
Yes. It's quite a few people. Sorry, I'm just making sure that my thing is plugged in. Yes, a lot of people get heart attacks. So I'm just looking at some of the stats that I've got here. It is in the UK, 100,000 hospital admissions each year are due to heart attacks. So that's about 280 admissions each day, which works out about 1 in 5. So 1 heart attack every 5 minutes occurs where people are actually admitted to hospital. That
1 heart attack every 5 minutes.
Mean that when somebody's admitted to hospital, that doesn't mean that there aren't more, because not all heart attacks end up in hospital. Not every case of a heart attack end up in hospital. Some people die. Some people don't realize they've had one. But for those that end up in hospital, it's 1 every 5 minutes, which is about 12 persons per hour.
So when you just said just now that some people don't realize they've had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Why is that?
They're not very sure, but it is thought to be because of possibly nerve damage. For example, people with diabetes have some inflammatory process that occurs and causes some what we call neuropathy, some kind of damage to the nerve. So it's the nerve that senses our pain. And if the nerve is damaged somewhat, people don't realize they're having a heart attack because the pain is not as much. And as well, sometimes it's just atypical. It's just, you don't think you're having a heart attack. Some people just feel unwell, a bit washed out, maybe a little bit short of breath, and it's the heart attack. But they don't realize, and they leave it and carry on. And if you've not had enough damage to the heart muscle, you can push yourself and keep going until maybe something else happens where you can't go anymore. Then you'll probably seek medical help. Wow. But that's possible.
Do you know, a few years, this is about 20 years ago, right? I'm going back a few years for myself, right? But I left work one day because I felt I was having a heart attack.
All right. Okay.
I left work and drove myself to the hospital. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Because I felt, I don't know why I was so intense about this, And my wife at the time said, no, Alex, if you had a heart attack, you'd know. She said to me, if you had a heart attack, you'd know that you have a heart attack. But what you're saying is that that's not necessarily true. I could have had a heart attack and still not realize it's a heart attack. So it's best to go and check it out.
Yes, that's the long and short of it. If you're not feeling yourself, if you got some symptoms that is, especially anything to, in the chest area and generally not feeling well, if you're not sure, it's best to get checked out. I mean, this is, these are the fewer cases. More people know than don't know, but it is very, very possible that you have a heart attack.
Does heart attacks affect different communities in different ways? Are there communities which are more prone to heart attacks than others?
In the UK, the people from Asian population are more prone to coronary artery disease or coronary heart disease, of which heart attack is a manifestation, than other ethnic groups. Black people are more at risk of getting high blood pressure, diabetes, and stroke more so than heart attacks in comparison to the white population. So it affects different populations differently based on risk factors. But the whole thing with African and African Caribbean is a bit of a dissociation, because we're prone to getting high blood pressure, diabetes, and stroke more. You would think that our risk of getting coronary heart disease is higher, but it doesn't seem to be the case that we get more coronary artery disease. But at an individual level, we've got more risk factors. But
we have more risk factors.
Yes, at an individual level. But as a group, we don't seem to be at the highest level of getting heart attacks, put it that way. It's more stroke that people from the African and Caribbean community tend to get.
So
more.
What would happen, because during the pandemic, when all the hospital resources were being diverted away to COVID-19, heart attacks people were still experiencing some form of heart attacks or coronary disease during this time.
Yes.
How would they have been helped during this time? What would happen to them?
So that is one of the things that you mentioned the British Heart Foundation earlier on, and they've been working very, very hard to get people to understand that despite COVID-19, if you think you're having symptoms of a heart attack, you must call 999 or go to the hospital, because you still need to be helped. But there have actually emerged quite a bit of evidence that some people have done exactly what you said, not sought help.
Yeah.
And it is yet to see whether the death rate from heart attacks is actually going to be higher over this period. But the message is, if you're having symptoms that you think might be a heart attack, COVID-19 or not, you must seek help, because that is the backbone, of managing heart attacks effectively. It is to get treatment on time as soon as possible, because when heart muscles die, they don't regenerate. And the heart attack is basically a plumbing problem where the blood vessels that supply the heart muscles are blocked. And if the blood vessels are blocked, then you can't get blood, you can't get oxygen. You start getting what we call anaerobic, oxygenation taking place, metabolism taking place. And that's what produces the lactic acid that causes the pain that we get. Athletes will understand that sort of thing. Yeah. But if that continues to happen, that area of the muscle that is not being perfused will die. The brain will get affected as well, like it did when I started feeling confused and disoriented, because enough oxygen wasn't going to my brain, because my heart muscle wasn't pumping as it should to perfuse my brain and the rest of my body. But the heart muscle itself will die, or a portion of it will die. And if that happens, because of a prolonged waiting period of getting the muscle reperfused, which we usually do by putting the stent in, or sometimes they block and they use clot busters because it's the clot in the heart vessel.
Okay, let's unravel that for the ordinary person. You've mentioned the stent more than once. What is the stent?
So it's like a little tube that is put, it's thread through usually they enter the artery through the wrist or sometimes the groin, and these clever doctors cardiologists have a way of using instruments and like tubes to thread the little tube that you're aiming to get into the heart vessel that is blocked. But because the blood vessels are all connected, you can go from the hand, from the radial artery in the arm up into the heart itself or through the groin and get it into that blocked heart vessel. And when it gets there, there's a way of opening it up using a little balloon, and it stays opened. And when it's opened, then it allows blood to start flowing again into that artery and to the muscle, to the heart muscle that was being deprived.
Wow.
So it's basically a little tube that it's put in the blocked artery. It stays opened and it will stay there for life.
Wow. So with all the advances that we've had, it means that the survival rate after heart attacks is rather high.
Yes. In the 60s, I was born in 1969. So in the 60s, apparently, the statistics said that about 7 out of every 10 people who had a heart attack would die. Today, it's reverse. 7 people will survive and about 3 will die. So we've made massive improvements in treating heart attacks. But the other end of that is that people who survive may then live with complications, what we call sequelae, and complications.
Well, I was going to ask you that, as someone who's experienced a heart attack, what is life like after a heart attack? What is life like? Does it change significantly?
Yes, it does. It does. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. We're not just physical being. So it affects your entire being. It depends again. If you've had treatment on time, the guideline is within 2 hours to have the stent within 2 hours to minimize the damage to the heart muscle. If that occurs, some people are almost back to normal. Once the cardiomyocytes, the muscle doesn't die, you're pretty much back to normal. But if you've had a heart attack, it's more than likely you will need to be on certain medications for the rest of your life.
Right.
If you've had a delay getting that stent in to reperfuse the heart muscle and in the process sustain death to the heart muscle, then that area of the heart muscle that dies, like I said, doesn't regenerate. It's not like your bone. When you break your bone, it regenerates and it comes back. Heart muscle doesn't regenerate. So what happens, instead of nice, healthy heart muscle contractile that, pumps, you get a scarred tissue that doesn't pump as such. And as such, as you can imagine, the pumping action is going to be less. You can have other things happening, lots of other things happening. And so you get complications. But the most common complication in that case would be heart failure. Heart failure means that the heart cannot pump enough blood to supply the entire body. Wow,
that's deadly, man. That's wow.
Yeah. So
wow. So it means that things that you were able to do in terms of exerting yourself before the heart attack, after the heart attack, you have to be very careful. You have to choose what you do very wisely.
Yes. Especially if you've got a degree of heart failure. Yeah, because you obviously, like you said, you're not getting enough oxygen, so you get tired more easily. Some people, depending on the degree of heart failure, it's very bad. They're always breathless. They look swollen. Their legs are sore. Yeah, and some people, you've got to up stage 4. You've got 1 to 4. At stage 4, even when you're sitting down, you're panting. And in fact, the prognosis for that is worse than some forms of cancer. So if that's the case, you're expected to die within the next 5 years, sort of thing. But if not, you can live a nice, good, normal life. I mean,
good, normal life.
Yes. I am living, you know, a decent quality of life. But of course, I'm very careful. I have made sure that I attended the cardiac rehabilitation sessions that are available, and that helps you to learn how much exercise or activities your body can deal with, and learn. I used to go to the park and say to my boys, "Come on, who can race me?" and dash off. I don't do that anymore.
Oh, you don't do that anymore.
My heart can't deal with that. It's too sudden, too quick. I need to build up. So I have to warm up my heart, and I might be able to do a jog, but not that sprint. Yeah. So I can still do things, but you just know how to do it. You just have to know what to do. And of course, the level of work, I used to do long 12-hour shifts. That's difficult, almost impossible to do, because I get fatigued, because again, the amount of blood supply is reduced. You can't do that now. So I don't do as much. So I do shorter shifts. So you have to do things to, adjust your activities generally. But it does have its price, because, of course, just saying what I'm saying, it has implications for your interactions with your family. It has implications for your finances. It has implications for how you feel about yourself. I've worked very hard to become a doctor, and now I can't do the shifts that I'd like to do. Yeah. I can't do the number. Those things, of course, then start to affect you psychologically if you're not careful. So you have to make adjustments for those as well. But it's being aware that these things can happen and will happen, and addressing them. Wow.
Because I was going to ask you that, because you just said you've worked very hard to be a doctor.
Yes.
And if I remember clearly, that your career was a nurse first. You were a nurse.
Yes.
So what caused the shift? What made you decide to retrain to be a doctor?
So I'm from Jamaica, as you see.
Okay.
So I grew up in Jamaica. My mother died when I was 10 years old. She died from, it sounds like a cancer of sort. I've never seen her death certificate. But I remember that my mother wanted to be a nurse. She always wanted to be a nurse. She was what we call a basic school teacher. So it probably is what is akin to a nursery nurse. But she wanted to be a nurse, and she always talked about that. So after she passed, I decided that I was going to be a nurse like my mother wanted to be, so that I could fulfill that dream that she didn't get a chance to fulfill. And so that is why I went down the route of training to be a nurse. But I then kept doing my nursing career, progressed in Jamaica when I was trained. If you wanted to progress your nursing career, whether or not you want to be a midwife, you have to do midwifery, just because of the autonomy that it gives you. And so I did midwifery as well, so I'm also a midwife. And just progressing a career. Then my nursing tutors at nursing school, I really love them. I like the way they spoke. They came from the mother country, you know, here. And they inspired me to want to come to England. So I wanted to come to England, where these lovely nurses, you know, that I looked up to were trained. So I eventually came here. And then as soon as I got here, I decided I want to have a degree, because when I was trained in Jamaica, the qualification was a certificate.
Okay.
At the time, it's now a degree program. So I wanted to have a degree. So as soon as I got here, I had the chance, I started doing my degree. So worked during the night, went to the university during the day, and I got a degree. I did a degree in community health nursing. So I was qualified as a practice nurse. The route would be a health visitor, a practice nurse, or a district nurse. I went on the practice nurse route. And then after working as a practice nurse, or even before then, I started thinking I wanted to do more. And the argument came up about being a doctor, because I was looking at becoming a nurse practitioner and realized, you know, what the course was like. And my mentor, who I really respected, a fantastic English nurse, said to me, "Why don't you do medicine?" And it was
Wow.
a seed that was planted in my mind when I was back in the Cayman Islands by somebody. And I explored it and realized that there was, at the time, the accelerated 4-year medical program. So if you had a degree in another health career,
Discipline,
health
yeah.
degree, whether it's nursing or biochemical science or something, you could do this accelerated for. So you had to have a good degree. I did well. I had a first class honors, so I
Wow.
got into medical school. With that, of course, you have to do the interview and all the other stuff. But I managed to get into medical school. At that time, my boys were 1 year old and 3 years old. So I had 2 little boys.
My, that's hard work.
Yes, and I was 35 years old at the time. So it's never too late. And my husband was supportive, and I did it. Went to medical school, managed to do the course in 4 years, and it's the same 5-year course condensed in 4 years. So
4
then
years.
we had more lectures, so morning and afternoon rather than just in the mornings where the 5-year program would do. And we just it was hard work, but
Hard work.
I was driven. I wanted to do it. I decided I was going to do it, and I managed to do it. And
Hey,
so
that's
after 4 years,
determination. Nobody can stop you. That is the power of determination. Nobody can stop you to do what you really want to do.
Yeah, my motto is I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Hey.
And therein is the
now you're ready to preach. Now you've got a sermon coming on now. Now you're ready to give a word.
Yes, indeed.
So this heart attack changed the way, let me not say change. When did you start speaking? Because I noticed that you stressed that you speak a lot now. When did you start speaking?
Well, to be honest, I did start speaking whilst I was growing up in church in Jamaica. Yeah. As a teenager, I was teaching Sunday school. I was youth president. I was preaching, doing, so it started from there. And in my nursing career, I have received awards because I loved debates. I used to enter debate competitions. So I've been
love to talk.
Yeah. So it's been for a while, but I've focused on, certainly after the heart attack, on, talking about heart attack, particularly in women. But even before that, I feel that, as a doctor in our community, in our church, it's, I have a responsibility, if anybody will listen, to share my knowledge and to help to empower people, because knowledge is power.
Yes.
And I think we need to take our health
seriously
in our hands as well. We need to take responsibility for our health. So doctors, our GPs, can do so much and know more, but a lot depends on us. But sometimes if you don't know what to do, then you can't do it. So empowerment is
so your specific speaking points is about educating women about their health in a broadest sense.
Well, women, everybody in health, but at the moment I'm focusing on educating women, particularly about heart disease,
about
heart attacks. Yes, especially since I've had this, because this is not usual. And I was 48 when I had the heart attack, so I was a younger woman.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any of the conventional risk factors for heart attack. If you've got high cholesterol, if you've got high blood pressure, if you've got diabetes, if you're obese, if you drink alcohol, if you eat bad, if you don't exercise, you know that there is a possibility, there's a real possibility of you getting a heart attack, because you're not doing those things and you've got what we call those comorbidities that would increase your risk. I had none of those. But I was a very, very busy, stressed GP, working hard.
working all the hours.
Shifts, including night shifts. So all of those things, which are not listed as conventional risk factors, were there in the background that I didn't pay enough attention to. And somebody similar to me, I just want you to know that it can happen to anybody. Because in a million years, I didn't think I could get a heart attack. In fact, when I did my risk, we have a thing that we call risk calculator. We put in age, blood pressure, and all of these parameters in, and it gives you a percentage. And if your chance of getting a heart attack in the next 10 years is more than 10%, then we do certain things. We might start you on statin, etc. My risk was like very, very, very low. In fact, it was said that you can expect to live well into your 80s before having a heart attack or a stroke, based on all of those things for me. So you might say, oh, well, that risk calculation is rubbish. And that's what we're still using.
Wow.
But the thing is, most of the things that we put in there, we know from research and from, there's enough evidence that they do cause heart attacks. It's just that it's not. So say we know 70% of what cause heart attack, but there's that little unknown box, you know, of things that we're not very sure about. We don't realize that do cause. Yeah.
I have a question that's coming through that says, what can our community do to safeguard ourselves during the pandemic? But let me take the pandemic off and say, what can we do to safeguard ourselves, you know, health-wise as a community? Because we're fighting a lot of different things.
Yeah. Goodness. I mean, the main thing is lifestyle, adjusting lifestyle. And lifestyle pillars, I like lifestyle medicine is eat, sleep, move, relax. Those four
Sorry?
pillars.
Eat, sleep,
move, relax.
All right. Eat, sleep,
So
move, relax.
we could go a lot into talking about diet. That's very important, you know. So basically, lots of fiber, which we don't eat enough fiber. Reduce sugar, reduce fat, especially fats, polyunsaturated fats. That's bad for you. That could be a whole session. So reduce fats, reduce sugars, increase fiber, and lots of fluids, lots of water. So in a nutshell, and there are some fats, there are some things that are really good for us.
Wow.
Yes, so that's in terms of eating. In terms of sleeping, we should be having at least 8 hours good sleep a night. Some people 6. I don't know, I'm different. I can manage with 4 hours sleep, and sometimes I wonder what effect that has on me, but that's always been how I am. But we need to pay attention to our sleep pattern. It's very, very, very important. Move is not just activities, but activities and exercise. In fact, it's now being said that sedentary lifestyle, sitting down, is now deemed to be as bad as smoking. So not moving, not getting up every 20 minutes, for example, sitting at a desk all day is very, very, very bad for you. And even if you're not exercising moderately where you're getting tired, you need to be moving, you need to get up, you need to be moving. So that's, again, another area that we could do more detailed information. And relax is about our mental state, our environment, what's happening, you know, what's stressing us, addressing all of those things, you know, what's happening addressing all of it.
What's stressing us out? Hey.
Yeah.
Now, we've spoken so much, and we haven't yet spoken about your book. So for the last 2 minutes that we got left, I need you to talk about the book book that you wrote.
Okay. So
hold it up so we can see the book. Come on, hold it up, man.
Yes, I did.
Advertise the book. Advertise the book.
Here we go. So this is this book. Can you see it? Am I showing it right?
Yes, I can. Put it a bit closer. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So this book I wrote whilst I was actually recovering from the heart attack, because I was at home and for 6 weeks didn't go home. So most of it was written then. Of course, the rest of editing, etc., came after. But I did it because that was one of the things that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to write a book. And this was the opportunity where I had a chance to sit down and start. So basically, I thought, you know, this has happened to me. I didn't expect it. So many unknowns. So it was a way for me to express what was happening to me. It was also a way of explaining what a heart attack is, what's happening to your body when a heart attack occurs, what are the complications that you might expect, what is life going to be after, what are the medications that you need to take? What do they mean? What do they do for you? All of this. So I've taken you through my journey of having this heart attack. And then afterwards, you know, how it is to, or what you can do to live a good life, to have a life that is happy and uneventful afterwards, because it's possible. And I've also looked as well at the psychological and the spiritual impact. And I've called it Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, the Heart of the Matter, because I'm talking about the heart, and I want to stress how God has made us as individuals deliberately and, you know, properly well made, including our heart, which is made to withstand all of this, you know, and how it functions in detail just to keep us alive. So exploring the heart in detail about, you know, how it functions and how we're just wonderfully made by our Creator.
Well,
and as individuals, in the end, you know, as an individual, that you're a wonderful being. You're not just something that just came out of nowhere without purpose, but you're a, and so move on.
I think you're missing your calling, but I think there's another career coming on here, you know. I think there's a preaching career coming on here now, you know. After the speaking, after the doctor, now you're going into preaching now, because you want to give a word every time there. You're wonderfully made.
Yes.
So I'm awesome because I'm wonderfully made.
Yes, and that it doesn't have to be preaching, Alex. It's the fact, and if we realize that, we can live, you know, we can live a much better life, a much more stress-free life. Yeah.
But the Western world does not. The West does not condone a stress-free life. We are battling so many different things throughout our working life, our working day.
Yeah.
Coping with family, coping with the stresses of keeping your job. Mm-hmm. You know, there's so many factors that are moving all the time. Yeah. And I'm sure that when you live outside, especially I lived in the Caribbean in my early years.
Okay.
And I used to think that I was hard done by when my parents took me to the Caribbean when I was 9 years of age.
Okay.
So my primary school and secondary education was in Jamaica.
Okay.
But do you know, after many years in the UK, I look back on my life and I look at my children and I compare the life that they've lived in the UK compared to what I had in the Caribbean. And I came to the conclusion that my life as a youngster in the Caribbean was so exciting. I was so free.
Yeah.
I was so free in the Caribbean when I was young.
Yeah.
You know, compared to growing up in the UK, compared to, you know, in the UK, your parents are continually worried about you when you leave the house. They want to check up on where you are. They want to make sure there's so many things to worry about.
Yeah. I think time as well is a factor.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting to hear from a young person growing up in Jamaica, because I'm sure that they're now being impacted with some of the same things that young people here are being impacted by, but I'm sure to a lesser extent, because it's a different kind of environment.
So you're saying that because of my time zone then, yeah? Because of my age, when I grew up in Jamaica, it was different.
I grew up in Jamaica as well. But I see my nieces and nephews in Jamaica as well, having the stress of, you know, social media things as well, and, you know, all those things that they worry about. But I'm sure it's to a less extent, especially when you grow up in the country.
Wow.
But it's good to acknowledge, though, all of these things that impact us, and actively find a way to, like you said, mitigate these risks, these impacts that these things will have on us, so that we can live our lives to the best of our ability, you know, with as minimal stress as is possible. It's not possible to be stress-free.
Minimal stress.
But yeah.
See, Dr. Carol says that we need to eat, sleep, move, and relax.
Yes.
Eat, sleep, move, and relax. Every day. Eat, sleep, move, and relax. Eat, sleep, move, and relax. Do you know, during the pandemic, we probably sat down in the house for so long without a lot of movement?
That's true. That's very true. Yeah.
And that's probably affecting our health right now, because of the lockdown. But eat, sleep, move, and relax. Now, thank you so much for tuning in. And despite the challenges, hey, despite the challenges, man, we've had a good show today. Now, I normally say to my guests, is there a word they want to give? Is there one word that they want to share with the public? But I've begun to realize that when it comes to my Caribbean and African friends, when you say a word, they don't have a word in them. They and it's not a sentence, they have a paragraph. Because once they start talking, it just pours out. So let me not try and restrict you. What would you say to the public now, from the time that we're in now, looking after our health? What would you say? What is the paragraph you'd give to the community right now?
I said change is something that is certain. We're always going to have change. And this is a season. It too will pass. I can't tell you how long, but whilst we're in it, let us do the best that we can do from the information that we've got to keep ourselves as safe as possible. And like I said, eat, sleep, move, relax. Relax also means having good relationships, with your friends, family, all of those things. So just do the best during this period so that, we can emerge from it stronger and better people.
Hey, emerge stronger and better.
Yes.
Probably stronger and better, but probably having no money in our pockets either. Hey.
You never know. Some people will even be better off in that way.
So we can find your book on Amazon.
Yes.
So let me just put your details up here. As we wrap up the show, you can find the book, Author of Fairly and Wonderfully Made, The Heart of the Matter, is on Amazon. There's a website there, which I push up. On the website, when you go to the website, you press the link and it takes you straight to the book.
Okay.
So support, go and buy a copy of this book, read it, and touch someone else's life. Share the information. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Alex. I'll see you when the next book is ready.
Let me make a note of that. When is the next book been ready? Huh?
The aim is for it to be published by the end of the year. The first draft is completed. It's well on its way.
So by the end of December, there'll be a launch party somewhere. Maybe on Zoom. Hey guys, listen to this now. And Carol is extending the invitation to all of you to come to the launch party on Zoom by the end of December.
I'll put the information on my website, etc. So
the information will be on the website.
And it's an exciting one. We'll be talking about women empowerment. So there's the website address. Look out, watch this website for the launch date and the launch party that you will be invited to. And she's empowering women. So she's not empowering the guys, she's empowering the women. Oh, you automatically get empowered. When the women are empowered, the world is empowered.
When you empower a woman, the world gets empowered. So men are automatically empowered. Hey.
Yes, absolutely.
Isn't that amazing? Thank you so much today for tuning into the Message Talk Show. Thank you, folks, for bearing with us. And we just want to encourage you to view, speak, connect with us on a Thursday, 11 o'clock. Each week, we tune in to the Message Talk Show. And let me leave you with one of my favorite pieces. Don't go away. Miss the show, you got to be on this show. So guys, Dr. Carol Ighofose says, eat, sleep, move and relax. That's a wrap. Eat, sleep, move and relax. this week.
Amen.
Eat, sleep, move, and relax. Encourage your friends, encourage your family to eat, sleep, move, and relax. And see you next week on the Message Talk Show. Over and out.
Thank you very much.